Well, hi.
Hey Amanda, what's the story?
What's up? How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Keeping well.
Yeah, nice to be down on the estate, isn't it?
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely unreal. Nice, fresh air.
Yeah. Nice difference from the city.
Yeah.
Not for you though.
No, I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Well, for me personally, when I just think of home, it smells. So I'm half South African, half Nigerian. Grew up in Ireland, so there is no one place that I would really call home. It's just kind of like a beautiful melting pot of so many different things, and loads of different influences as well, apart from my actual heritage. So for me, home would really just be smells and music, I think.
Yeah.
Just certain sounds, certain smells, or whatever, just immediately just take me back to certain times in my life or whatever, especially when I was younger. Yeah, I think.
And there's nothing like a good smell that brings you back to your place of home.
100%. I feel like it almost brings a sense of comfort. It's like a blanket, I think.
Oh yeah, completely.
So,
when you're a kid and you if you have to stay in someone else's house or something and you come back home to your own house and there's just one thing there that you're just like, oh, and it could just be a smelly tea towel that you're looking at the counter and you're like, oh, my house.
I miss my tea towel.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I feel, when I was growing up, I always felt like home was very, I based it around what I saw and who was there, and growing up in I grew up in Sheriff Street in Dublin, and so every Saturday we would do the same walk up to Talbot Street and back to do the shopping. And so certain places, Talbot Street was almost like the centre of my world growing up. And I remember going on holidays as a kid, and we were somewhere in Spain. I remember saying to my mum, where's the Henry Street? Because I was trying to get my head around home.
Yeah.
And it really used to mess with me. And it wasn't until I moved away when I was older and I was starting to feel kind of homesick, but I guess I didn't really realise I was homesick. And my friends would laugh at me because I'd be making, we were in college and we were young and just doing whatever college students would be doing first year away from home, and I was making friends with my neighbours and hanging out with my neighbours, and I was like, it's because I'm craving home. And just since then it made me realise that home is kind of like a way of being for me. So if I'm somewhere, if I'm in a completely other part of the world and there's nothing familiar to me and there's nothing that feels like home, there's certain ways that I'll behave that create home and create a community for me. And whether that's being able to knock into your neighbour for a bit of sugar, or just creating those connections that you feel like, right, this is not the home that I grew up with, and I wouldn't want to have that my whole life because I'll never grow. But I want to be able to go anywhere and put my feet on the ground and create a home, not only for me but for the people around me. And it's weird, the older you get, your concept of home changes for me anyway. But I definitely feel with the smells and stuff, on a Sunday dinner in my house, there's a very certain homely feeling, associated with that.
Yeah, love that. I'm just kind of touching off something that you kind of said there. I feel like for me growing up, a lot of what I felt like home, or what home should be, was tied into identity, I think, for myself, whether that's first off, either identifying as black or identifying as Nigerian or South African or Irish or whatever that meant. A lot of where a lot of questions would come back to okay, where is home, and is my home related to any of these labels or whatever? And I think pretty much like you said, it's a thing, it's wherever you want it to be. It's it's something that you create, it's something that you define for yourself, kind of thing. It doesn't have to be tied to a singular thing or a singular experience or a singular whatever. It's it's something that you create, it's something that you kind of build and identify for yourself, and that can be wherever, whatever geographical location or whatever, that can be anywhere that you want it to to be, kind of thing. So I love that.
And it's hard, but it's hard figuring that out, isn't it? Because I think when you're a kid, it's hard when you that sense of home is probably in the people that you feel comfortable around. And it's only when you kind of move away from that and you have that moment of what is home, where is it, where do I, where am I comfortable? And I think like retrospect is a great thing, and like, you know, I'm able to look back and feel that, and I feel that way about home now. But I definitely had moments where I felt like, you know, uncomfortable outside of what home was to me. And it was only through that, I think, that it makes you realise that you can kind of create home. Like, I think like when I was younger, I always felt a great sense of comfort around my nanny, and anywhere she was, I felt like home. So we could be somewhere in space, in a spaceship, nothing be familiar, but I'm with her, I'm like, right, it's home.
It's home, yeah.
And it made me, I started to realise the rituals that she would do, and I was like, she makes me feel like that, so like I might be that to someone else at some point. So it's like I can be that to myself. And I think once you kind of have that realisation, you can just plant your feet anywhere and be like, it's not like a place, it's not a thing. It can be smells and it can be aesthetics, but like essentially it's like in you, I think.
Yeah, I feel like this for anyone that kind of grew up in an African household, like as much as my parents live in Ireland, they've lived abroad for many years. They're still, especially my dad, he's very much a Nigerian man, like, and you know, there's certain cultures or whatever that like is very, very different. And I feel like for me personally, that's where a lot of my like struggle to kind of find an identity culturally came from, because like there's this generation of like, you know, African parents or whatever, completely different, but then I'm also completely immersed in Irish culture, because this is where I kind of grew up from. Like, I lived in Ireland since I was 2, so this is what I know to be home. And you know, the way I am, the way I thought, my mindsets are very, very different to them, so they caused a lot of conflict and stuff. But I think for them, really, it was mostly a thing of just instilling their values or whatever into me. And like, you know, for them, for Africans, I'm not even going to keep it to like a specific country, but for like Africans in general, culture it's such an important thing, and it's something that it's like treasured and respected, and almost like a thing to like safeguard. And so like the passing on of certain things, whether that's food, whether that's music, or just certain, you know, thought processes or whatever, it's very, very important to them. And I feel like for myself personally as well, as much as I want to say that I'm African, I'm also very much Irish, so it's kind of like trying to strike a balance between all of that, and realizing that, okay, because I'm African doesn't mean I have to be all of these things, or I have to do all of these things, or you know, just pick up, learn to like, you know, pick up and drop certain things, or whatever. Yeah,
that's really interesting, because you want to kind of carry those things forward, but you also want to be your own person and be like, right, you know, I have experiences that you don't have, and although I want to like, you know, bring those things forward and be proud of those things, there's other stuff that you want to pick up. That's really interesting. Like for me, you know, I would say I meditate a lot, but in the last maybe 6 months, I've completely abandoned that, because there's been times where I've just felt there's so much going on that like you know, there's so many knots going on that I don't think meditation is going to even get to the first one. And for me, I felt really lucky to be around my family especially during the lockdown, and not just my family but the kids, because there's so many children in my family, and I think being around children, there's so much purity and innocence in them. You don't get to be in your head. You have no other option but to be in the now, no matter what's going on. Your house can be falling down around you, but if you have a 3-year-old who is crying because they need Peppa Pig, or else their world's going to end, Peppa Pig is the priority, you know. Obviously not if the house is burned down, but you know what I mean. Like this, I found such solace in being around the kids and being around my animals during the last 6 months. And normally, I feel like I'm really lucky to have a strong group of friends and a very grounded family to keep me to keep my feet on the ground. But I find in times when I can't find that, it's because I've abandoned those things a little bit. And whenever I come back to that, I always find I'm more balanced. What about yourself? Do you have any like particular things that you do?
So for me, I just write. So there's 2 things. So Depending on how I'm feeling, you know, on the day, I'd either just write and just like literally word vomit everything onto a page, in whatever way that might come out, whether it's like a song or a poem or whatever, or just, you know, just words. I just do that, or dance or listen to music. Like there's so many different things. I think for me personally, it's tied into some kind of way of expression. So whatever I'm feeling in here just needs to like come out. But then I feel like in this time in particular, the last couple of months and everything that's happened, it's really been a time of more so like introspection for me. And even though I'm like, I'd say I'm in, you know, introvert with extrovert tendencies sometimes. So I do spend a lot of time in here anyway, but the last couple of months, especially, it's been, you know, intentional time, and not just being on my own just for the sake of being on my own or whatever, but like actually delving deeper and trying to just create like a better sense of like self-awareness. I think of certain things, and really just like delving down to like, okay, what actually matters to me, because I think the last couple of months have really managed to strip away a lot of like the noise, just a lot of like the, you know, just fog and the rat race and, you know, all of the just messiness and the rowdiness of the world. It's like everything's just like kind of been put on pause, and it's like, okay, all these things I've been running around for the last how many years, it's like at the end of the day it's not even important. Like it's everything's just managed to all like, you know, come to a halt, and the world hasn't ended. So it's like, okay, what actually matters then? What is beyond this? And at the core, at my core, who am I? What do I believe? And what do I want to do, kind of thing? Because like I'm a very, very big believer in like purpose. So I feel like there is reason for things, and there's reasons for existence, I do believe. So for me, it's like, okay, finding and defining for myself, okay, what is that? And coming out of this time, because like, you know, it's like kind of a time to like, you know, pause, and everything's going to start back up again. Like coming out of this time, who do I want to be, and what do I want to try and achieve? What do I want to try and do, kind of thing. And even if that's just to be and not to actually physically do anything, it's like, okay, I need to be okay with that. I need to be content with that, and I need to be, you know, I need to not need to be doing something, if that makes sense. It's just kind of just being.
That's something that a lot of people have realised during lockdown, especially. I'm just hearing that from so many people. This kind of like, you know, this idea that being busy was like, you know, the desired thing. The kind of people being forced to slow down and have, I think like having so many materialistic things and things that now seem a bit fickle to us, having those to distract you, sometimes they're distracting you for a reason, you know. And I think having all those things, like you say, stripped away, you're forced to sit with yourself, and sometimes that self that you're sitting with is like not nice. It's not what you thought it was, and being forced to sit with that and have a couple of months to do nothing but change and develop and grow and sit with those parts of yourself that you've been trying for so long to distract or escape. I think especially from creatives and just people in general, I think a lot of goodness is going to come out of this, because I think there's only so much that you can sit with your flaws or things that you feel like you've been putting on hold before you either do them or you realise that it wasn't what you wanted to do. And like what you said there about purpose, I think a lot of people have realised or found what their purpose has been during this time. Because like you say, when you don't have all those, when you don't have all the little things that you're chasing before, and they're so different for everyone, like, you know, you're kind of, you start to think about what the bigger picture is, don't you? Like,
for sure. There's this southern African saying from the Bantu region. It's called Ubuntu, and it basically means like, I am who I am because of who we all are, and we are who we are because of who I am. So it's like taking it a step further of like, you know, rather than being your brother or sister's keeper, it's like, I am my brother and sister, and they are me, kind of thing.
Chills hearing you say that.
So it's like, so it's like a thing of like, you know, it just really creates that sense of like interconnectedness of everything, of all of us, and, you know, just realizing that we are ourselves kind of thing. Like, as much as we are individuals, you know, the individuals make up the collective. So it's a thing of realizing, like, okay, like we're all one. We are all people, and just really creating, you know, that sense of unity. And for me, that's why, like, even with the protests and everything that's happened the last couple of months, the one, like, you know, I had to stick in a shanacle there somewhere, but you know, it's there's no strength without unity. And that there isn't, like, it's a thing of, like, you know, I feel like unity and people just realizing and just learning to see people for people, I think, and looking past labels and looking past the external, and just learning to see people and seeing that, okay, this person, they want the same thing that I want. And you know, I think if people actually realize that, it will just really break down barriers and walls and things that have been put up to cause division between people. And I think that's literally just it, just like the golden rule, love your neighbour as yourself kind of thing. Like,
if it could all just be so simple, you know, in the words of Lauren Hill. But you know, I mean, like, I agree with everything you're saying there. That is such a beautiful saying, by the way. It's gorgeous, and it gave me chills, because it's just, you know, these things are so obvious, but, you know, why can't we all just practice that, you know? I mean, I grew up in a very tight-knit community in Sheriff Street, and it was a flat complex where people from outside the flat complex didn't come in near it, and if they did, they were in a car with a video camera filming, like they were kind of filming a safari. And there was, like, it was, you know, like, it was crazy. You can go on YouTube and see these videos of people going, look at them, and the kids are running after them with sticks going, get out of here. But I would have been too if it was me, you know. And these kind of, like, we back then, like, this was even before I was born, you know, like my ma and dad and their parents, like, they didn't have money, so they all kind of came together, and they would all live in a balcony, and they'd all put their money together, and one house would cook dinner each week, right? And you'd go in there. Now, these are all your neighbours. This person, one of the houses there, I grew up calling her my nanny, and I just always thought she was my actual grandmother for years, and turns out she was just our neighbour. But that's how kind of close-knit we were. And that area was, like, rampant in the 90s from the heroin epidemic. I've had so many of my neighbours and family lost to it. And when we had nothing, we didn't have the authorities on our side, we didn't have the politicians, no one kind of wanted anything to do with it, because the area was notorious with crime and all this. All we had was each other. And I've kind of grown up with that blueprint of seeing that, and despite the violence and the crime that went on there, like, the only thing that could pull people out of that was community. And I see that now, and I see even in smaller kind of, like, microcosms, there's communities starting to form in particular scenes of art and music, and it's just so it really does bring people together, and it makes people want to be a part of something, you know. No one wants to be a part of something where there's, like, you know, where there's cliques, or, you know, it's exclusive, and like, I agree with everything that you were saying there, you know, like, all for one and one for all. It's, if it could all be so simple, wouldn't it be beautiful? But I mean, it's we've all seen it when it's put into practice. And I think if we can all strive for that empathy as well, like having empathy behind every villain, there's a mother, brother, sister, there's a cause, there's a reason. And if we could all be a little bit more open to seeing that in every situation, I think there'd be a lot less pushback and a lot more growth.
For me, I just kind of take experience from, like, I mean, and it's inspiration from just people. I think mainly is the biggest thing for me. People, hearing people's stories. Like, I love this kind of thing, just like just sitting and talking, and, you know, actually just getting past all the, you know, small talk, chit chat kind of thing, and actually delving deeper. So yeah, just people, experiences, music, all of that. Like, it's just like I feel like there's such a richness in in things like that, things that, you know, have, like, just like I said, just go beyond the surface kind of thing. And there's lots of lessons to learn. There's lots of things to, you know, take from different experiences, from other people's experiences even. So yeah, I think all of that, for me personally, that's probably what inspires me and drives me the most, and kind of shapes my thoughts and my actions, and essentially just who I am, really.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I feel like I'm inspired most by people and behaviours. Like, I feel like all of my work is inspired by the people that I grew up around and my family. And I kind of hate to say it, but like, I'm inspired by pain. I even don't like that sentence coming out of my mouth, but like, I feel like it's kind of like, for me, I've like grown up, experienced people around me experiencing a lot of pain, and sometimes that wouldn't come out it wouldn't necessarily come off straight away as pain. It's coming off straight away as, like, you know, violence or anger or whatever, and it makes me want to delve in and find out what's behind. What's behind there, because I've had people really close to me that, if someone else didn't have that understanding, they're written off straight away. And I always want people to delve into that, because, you know, I always think if you delve into that, you will find so much richness behind that. And there's going to be so much growth there. So I always feel like there's so much rich quality behind a lot of pain, and it makes me want to delve into it to also get a better understanding, because I can't expect people to understand my pain or the people around me's pain if I can't delve in and experience that. And I feel like it for me, with any kind of work I do, it makes me feel, it makes me drive, it makes me passionate. You know, like, I've been trying to, like, fight against and campaign against developments going up in my area. Now, I didn't do that because I had a bit of spare time, and I felt like spending 2 hours a day on the phone and, you know, getting ignored by every politician going. I did that because, like, I can see the people around me, like, you know, losing their community, losing their what they grew up around, and that puts a fire inside me, and I'm like, right, this is not happening, like, and I think that those kind of pangs of, like, pain, either inside me or inside other people, I'm kind of drawn to them.
Interesting that you said that. I was watching this video, and there was, like, just an empty room, and they basically put just, like, a vase with, like, you know, it's normal pottery vase with, like, scars on the side of it, and they just let people into the room one by one, and the first thing each person did when they picked up the vase was run their fingers along the scars on the vase. And it literally just goes to show, like, that's a point of connection, I think, for us as, like, humans, and it's in that, the whole, like, the fragility even of our humanity, and in those scars, and in those, you know, experiences, and, like you said, in the pain, in all of that, that's like a point of connection, I think, for all of us. It's a thing that that we all experience, first of all, and I think that, because even just having conversations about it and getting into that space and just being vulnerable, I think it, like, it takes relationship to a different level. It takes you know, just a sense of being to a different place, and I feel like we're able to connect on a different level through things like pain and that shared experiences and shared pain and stuff like that. So I definitely agree, that it is a thing that, like, you know, people are drawn to for a specific reason. So
that's so beautiful about the people walking into the vase, because you know, I imagine this, you know, if there was one of these glasses was smashed here, I'm gonna be looking at the smashed one. You know what I mean? It's like, it's quite an obvious thing, but when you say it like that, it's actually really, it kind of just hits home a little bit, because I think everybody is drawn to that, whether or not they know and not. I think some people are kind of a little bit opposed to pain, because there's, you know, like, I was talking to my friend about this the other day, and we were talking about, you know, like, some people can hear someone else's pain or story, and they can like take it and they can give advice, and then there's some people who can't help but absorb it, and, like, I feel like I'm one of those people who absorbs it, but I can't run away. And I feel like even in the people that don't absorb it, I feel like there's some type of resistance there in everyone to absorb it, because nobody wants to feel that. Everybody wants to, you know, it's like if you see a kid hurt, like your instinct, like I remember during the first week of lockdown, you know, I wasn't allowed to touch the kids in my family, and one of them like fell, and like she fell on the ground, I straight away like ran over it and scooped her up, and she was like clinging on to me because she wasn't allowed to hug anyone, so all of a sudden her pain in her knee went away. She's like, oh, I can hug. And just that kind of instinct to like run and you know, I think it's in all of us, even when it comes down to events, you know what I mean? Like
100%.